Hello everybody. In this video, I'm going to talk about 6 steps how to apply for a tourist visa in 2021 and beyond. Remember, this is post-COVID, and I mentioned in previous videos that there may be no visa appointments for tourists until the end of the year. But as we are getting ready for embassies and consulates to reopen, there are some things that you have to do in order to prepare the next time you're going to be applying for a tourist visa as soon as they're going to start opening the opportunity to do so. So in this video, I'm going to give you the most up-to-date information how to apply for a tourist visa post-COVID-19 pandemic. So what are you waiting for? I'll see you on the other side. Hello everybody, and welcome back to our immigration channel. This is a place we get the most up-to-date immigration news, immigration information, and everything else that you need to make your immigration journey less stressful. My name is Jacob Sapochnick, and I'm an immigration attorney located in San Diego, California, and I help clients in all 50 states. In this video, we're going to talk about a very important topic: how do we apply for a tourist visa, B1, B2 visa, post-COVID-19 pandemic? What's happening? So much confusion. Now remember, in the previous video, you can see the link here and in the description of this video, I gave you information about what the State Department said recently about tourist visas. And it specifically said that tourist visas are now the lowest priority. Post-COVID, there is a tier system for visa processing. First, they're working on immigrant visas, mostly family cases, spouses and children. Then they're going through green card holders. Then they're going through work visas, employment cases. And finally, tourist visas are low priority. And as a result, the prediction was that most likely it's going to be virtually impossible to get an appointment for a tourist visa by the end of 2021. Now, while this is true, some embassies and consulates are still able to issue very limited appointments for tourist visas in certain situations. And as we're going through this process, and as embassies and consulates are reopening, and we're coming close to the point where they will start to process B1, B2 applications post the COVID-19 pandemic, we have to get ready for new processing of B1, B2 visas under the new rules. And this video is going to tell you exactly what you have to do to apply for a tourist visa, B1, B2, post-COVID-19 pandemic. We're going to talk about 6 steps, and I'm going to go over them one by one. Now remember, when you apply for a tourist visa, whether it's a B1 or a B2 visa, you have to understand that it's your job to come to the US Embassy prepared, to show them that you qualify to meet the requirements of a tourist visa. The main thing that they're looking for is that you have sufficient ties to your home country. The main reason why most tourist visas get denied is because of Section 214B. This section of the Immigration and Nationality Law is all about ties to your home country. You are not able to convince the consular officer that you have sufficient ties to your home country, and therefore you're at a higher risk to stay in the United States unlawfully and never return back to your home country. What is the reason why consular officers are, for example, more strict in countries like Nigeria, the Philippines, and India when it comes to tourist visas? Why is the denial rate in those countries is close to 90% when it comes to tourist visas, as opposed to countries like Germany or Israel or even Brazil, where the rate of return, where people are going back to the United States, is much higher than the countries that I mentioned to you before. And that's really what it's all about. If the consular officer is going to be convinced that you're going to meet the requirements of the B1, B2, and you will return at the end of your trip to your home country, your chances to get the visa are definitely higher. So it is important to start this journey of applying for a tourist visa with this notion in mind. Am I able to convince the consular officer that I will return to my home country after presenting myself at the interview with the supporting documents and with what I'm going to be telling the officer verbally at the time of the interview? So, step number 1, submit Form DS-160 online. This is an online form that requires all your biographic information about your trip, and about yourself. The form is available online. Every embassy that you are going to be dealing with, whether it's the US Embassy in Nigeria, the US Embassy in Manila, the US Embassy in Tel Aviv, they have their own websites. It's not just the general State Department website. Every embassy has their own website. Before you apply for a tourist visa, you need to go on the website of that respective embassy, find the link to Form DS-160 at that embassy, and go through the process of completing this form electronically online. Once you complete this form, it's going to generate a barcode which you need to print and keep, because you're going to take it with you to your interview. Step number 2 is you have to pay the fees, the visa fees online. Every visa has a different fee schedule. The tourist visa has a set fee. That fee changes from time to time. It is essential for you to check on the website of your embassy where you're going to be applying to make sure that the fee hasn't changed before you make that fee payment online as well. At the end, once you pay the fee, once you make that fee payment, make sure you print proof of payment as well, because you're going to need that with you when you attend the interview. Step number 3 is make sure you have your passport pictures done correctly. The US has a particular passport style. It's different than many other countries. All you have to do is find that link on the US embassy that you apply for. Every embassy has a link to the correct style of passport pictures. And remember, the background is always white. It cannot be blue, it cannot be gray, it has to be plain white. That's the only format they accept for US passport photos. If you don't have the correct photo, you may be required to exit the interview area, go outside, obtain those photos, and return to the embassy, therefore losing some precious time at the time of your interview. Step number 4, schedule your tourist visa appointment. Now remember, at the moment, there are virtually no appointments available for tourist visa applications. This video is being recorded in July of 2021. The process of applying for tourist visa is the same. It's going to be the same moving forward. What is going to be different is the availability of visa appointments. Right now, in some countries, people can still apply for tourist visas, but it's very, very limited. I'll give you an example. In Israel, for example, some applicants reported tourist visa applications that they were able to schedule because they were going on the US Embassy's websites every single day between the hours of midnight and 3 a.m. and they were able to secure multiple single appointments. It is possible. There are other embassies that are also open some slots, but again, they are very, very limited and may be pushed for the end of the summer, maybe beginning of the fall. But it is possible. If you have an urgent need to travel, you can still try to schedule your appointment even today. Sometimes we have applicants who scheduled their appointments in recent months and the embassy canceled those appointments because embassies had to close, because there was a spike in COVID cases, because of security reasons. Whatever the reason is, once you have that appointment, it could be canceled by the embassy, and then you're going to have to log in and try to reschedule that appointment once again. So that's a very, very essential step, especially in these days, because appointments can be canceled. It's normal, so make sure you monitor the system and make sure that before you go, check whether your appointment is still on or was it actually canceled. Step number 5, prepare all the supporting documents that you need to take with you to show the embassy that you qualify for the tourist visa. This is a very important step because in this step you're going to bring documents to show that you have ties to your home country. You have a job, maybe you have a house, you have other family members that are left behind if you're traveling by yourself. Anything that can show them that you are not going to need to stay in the United States and never return back home. You want to show them the risk factors. You have too much to lose by not going back. You have a business, you have a house, you just started a job a year ago and you've been promoted. These are the things, especially for younger applicants. It's very difficult for people under the age of 30 to obtain those visas because they are at a higher risk of going to the United States and never coming back. Also remember, what you tell the US Embassy officer at the interview is going to stay on record. So you have to know that whatever documents you prepare, you have to also match what you tell them physically at the time of the interview. So if you tell them that you have a job and they ask you how long have you been working at that job, if your documents reflect a different reality, it's going to be a problem, right? So make sure you study the documents you provide and be very consistent with the information you give them physically as well as verbally. Preparation of a proper file for a tourist visa application is a very essential part of a successful tourist visa. If you don't have enough documents, if you're not convincing enough, you're not going to make it and you're not going to be able to get your visa on the first try. Let's talk about some of the documents that you're going to collect to put in that file as you prepare to go to your interview. You should have your valid passport, 2 passport size photos, a printed DS-160 form, and the confirmation page, a receipt of the visa fee that you paid, the interview confirmation page, very important. I suggest to prepare a letter describing the purpose of your trip so you can hand it to the officer in case he asks you. Proof of financial means, bank account, bank statements, whatever you have to show that you have enough money to travel and stay there for the duration of your trip. Enough ties to your home country, as I mentioned before, your job, a house, family members left behind. If you've been in the United States previously and returned already, make sure you have proof of that, because that's going to increase your chances to get the visa one more time. If you're applying for the first time, make sure you have a letter from your employer or somebody that shows that you have a high intention to return to the United States. Again, you have a lot to lose by not going back home. Make sure you have a list of all your social media accounts with you. Sometimes consular officers would like to see those just to verify and check who you are. Make sure you have those prepared. Do not hide those. Finally, step number 6, attending the actual interview. On the date of the interview, make sure you relax, you dress appropriately. The consular officer will have a very short time at the window to speak with you. Some of these interviews, they last less than 5 minutes. You need to have your documents prepared. Some consular officers will not even look at your documents. They will ask you questions directly, and they want to see how confident you are and what is the reason why you want to go to the United States. Other consular officers would like to see more documents. Make sure everything is organized in a tab folder format so you're able to pull it and give it to the officer. And finally, if your visa is not approved, make sure you stay relaxed. Make sure you understand why it happened. You can ask the questions in a polite manner, and remember, you can always try again. But if you're prepared, if you're direct, if you're confident, and you come equipped with all the documents we mentioned in this video, your chances to get this visa are definitely going to increase very much. Remember, if you get a tourist visa, typically you'll get it in your passport anywhere from 1 year to 10 years. That does not mean you can stay in the United States all this time. Once you enter the United States, the maximum time you can stay there is 6 months. And potentially, you could extend that from inside the United States for another 6 months. So hopefully you found this information helpful. It's definitely going to be very, very difficult for tourists to obtain those visas, especially for first-time applicants. As embassies and consulates are going to reopen, we will update their procedures, and we're going to let you know if there's any changes when it comes to tourist visa applications. But right now, it's important to know that it's almost impossible to apply for tourist visas right now. And if you do need to apply for those, you can still try to find those limited appointments that are available in some consulates worldwide. If you have any questions, make sure you post them in the comments below. I'm happy to answer them. If you're here for the first time, subscribe to our channel, click the notification bell to not miss any of our videos or live streams, and also give us a big like so YouTube will be able to share this video with more people just like you. Once again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in our next video. Before we go, we've got 2 questions that were asked about tourist visas, and I'm going to answer them right now. Somebody's asking, do tourists get access to American healthcare insurance, to public American healthcare insurance? Well, the answer is no. Tourists are not eligible for public health insurance in the United States. They can get private travel insurance, but you're not eligible for Medi-Cal, Medicare as a tourist. In fact, if you do so, you may lose your tourist visa and may not be able to come to the United States ever again. Another question, can I get a green card while I'm here on a tourist visa? The general answer is no. As a tourist, you're not supposed to get a green card. The only exception to that is if you're here as a tourist and you meet a US citizen and you get married, you can file an adjustment of status after a certain amount of time of being in the United States. That's one of the only exceptions. But otherwise, as a tourist, you just don't have enough time to apply for a green card through any other category aside from marriage. So remember, as a tourist, you're supposed to be a tourist. But if you fall in love, yes, you can still get a green card based on marriage.